Okay, more government shutdown-related headlines. You see on your screen here, we're just a few hours out from officially marking 1 week of the government shutdown. A live look at Capitol Hill. The time about 8:45 in the nation's capital. Let's get to a story about agriculture. Politico has this. They say the Trump administration is pushing back its plans to roll out economic aid for farmers this week due to the government shutdown. Of course, we've been tracking just about every angle possible relating to this shutdown, and farmers and agriculture are no different. Grace Yarrow is a food and agriculture policy reporter for Politico. She's also the author of Politico's daily morning agriculture newsletter. She's here with me. Thanks for coming on. I have a lot to ask about this. Generally, just to let the audience know where things stand, why do farmers need aid right now?
Yeah, thanks for having me. There's a lot to unpack here. This is something that agriculture and farm groups have been warning about for months. The primary reason for this aid package is President Donald Trump's tariff rollout. A lot of the reciprocal tariffs have especially impacted soybean and corn producers, some of the top U.S. ag exports. Some other ag commodities are doing just fine, but primarily those row crop farmers are struggling a lot. They're also dealing with high input costs, from fertilizers to seeds are just across the board more expensive. And a number of other headwinds, including recent disasters that they're still recovering from. And there's just a lot of need right now in low prices, outdated policies. We haven't had a new farm bill, which is expected to be updated every 5 years since 2018. So there's a lot going on, but the primary reason is an aid package in response to the president's tariffs, similar to what he did during his first term.
Is the new farm bill expected to look different than the past one?
Definitely. So Republicans in their Reconciliation One Big Beautiful Bill Act earlier this year included a lot of progress for commodity producers, including better insurance and sort of just what they call the farm safety net. But a lot of those will not kick in until the next crop year, so October or so of 2026. So a lot of lawmakers are referring to this sort of aid package that the administration is looking at as sort of a bridge aid package, just to get farmers through the next year or so until those new policies hit. But lawmakers are still looking at passing what they call a skinny farm bill or Farm Bill 2.0 this fall, before some of those key policies expire at the end of the year.
A live look at the White House. The Office of Management and Budget has readied between $12 billion and $13 billion to be allocated from an internal USDA account. What is that money intended to be used for?
Yeah, so that part is a little bit unclear. Technically, what we're looking at primarily is likely an aid package, but it could be used for a number of different reasons. That money is from the USDA's Commodity Credit Corporation, which is just kind of sometimes referred to as a slush fund for a number of different problems, from animal disease to something like the economic headwinds that we're seeing farmers deal with right now. So likely a lot of that money will go towards farm aid, but that piece is not totally final. And that's what we wrote about today, is just that deciding those details of what the aid package are going to look like is still ongoing and will be further pushed by the shutdown.
A live look at Capitol Hill. You write that Senator John Hoeven said in an interview that Trump, Scott Bessent, and Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins have, quote, all made it clear that they're pursuing farm aid despite the delay that the shutdown has caused. What kind of aid is possible despite a shutdown?
Yeah, well, fair enough. There's not a lot that can be rolled out right now. I mean, a lot of USDA political appointees who would be responsible for helping draft kind of a major ag package are furloughed. A lot of the disaster aid that was passed by Congress last year for producers who were dealing with similar, economic headwinds in terms of the high input costs that I mentioned and low reference prices for their crops. A lot of that rollout has been paused because of the shutdown. So there are ongoing high-level conversations about what the aid package should look like, and especially where that money will come from is going to be a pretty big discussion here in the next few weeks. But yeah, as you said, there's not a lot of money that can be rolled out until the government is back open.
Are there any specific regions of the country that are most impacted, and let me rephrase that actually. Are there any specific parts of the country where farms are being impacted most because of the government shutdown?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there. A lot of them are so focused on their harvest season, especially on the row crop side, which is throughout the Midwest, and specialty crops on the West Coast, and et cetera. And another thing that a lot of those farmers are looking at, especially smaller farmers, are looking at concerns about WIC and SNAP funding that could run out eventually, though the White House has said that they will cover the expenses for WIC, so that will not affect that nutrition program. But yeah, I've heard from a lot of farmers who are worried about, getting their loans, and Republicans in particular, including Senate Majority Leader John Boone, has noted that USDA's Farm Service Agency, those county level offices that farmers will go to, especially in the coming weeks here, as they get ready for even next year's crop, they will need to get information from USDA on what kinds of loans they can get, what sorts of grants they can participate in, all of that. So as this shutdown touches on, people are starting to get more and more antsy about if they'll be able to even access USDA programs. And so we'll see how that unfurls and how long we're stuck in this situation. But there's a lot of anxiety there.
Where does this story go from here? Where does your reporting take you next? What are you watching for as the week progresses?
Yeah, I think it will be interesting. As I noted today, a couple folks that I talked to noted that, despite the sort of delay on details for this aid package, there is a chance that the president will come out and say something this week about an aid package. He's already said publicly to reporters, and everyone has talked about using tariff revenue for an aid package, though that is sort of limited in a whole different way. That so this USDA sort of backup emergency fund is probably a more likely place for them to start. So there's a chance the president could say something this week that would move the ball forward on an aid package. But in the meantime, farmers are really just looking for any new trade deals, any policies. A lot of them have been urging, new market opportunities. They want permanent solutions. Almost all of the farmers I talk to tell me they don't want a handout. They just want to be able to, sell their products. So I'll be watching for that. And a lot of them have a lot of faith in the administration that, something will turn out. But so a lot of eyes are on the China talks ahead of November 10th, that deadline. That's a big one for soybean producers in particular. But just across the board, they're looking for new market opportunities from the administration.
All right. Grace Yarrow is a food and agriculture policy reporter at Politico. Thanks for the time tonight.
Thank you.